What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Bronx and Big Blue Breakdown. I'm your host, Brady Heslin, and today we'll be discussing some goods for the Yankees and some really bads for the New York Giants. So let's start with the bad. Let's start with the New York Giants. I think that's kind of where we have to start. The Giants, they had a big game last night. They played the Kansas City Chiefs primetime game, Sunday night, home opener in MetLife, and they got embarrassed for the second time this season. They got absolutely embarrassed, not by the Chiefs, but by themselves. They embarrassed themselves last night. So let's get into it. So we have to start with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was awful. Completely terrible. He just sucks. He was 18 for 32, 160 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. His deep accuracy was back to being terrible. His decision-making was awful. He can't see the middle of the field. He can't see anything intermediate. He was 0 for 6 with 2 picks on his deep balls. He was terrible in the red zone. I mean, he just did nothing well yesterday. It was a complete 180 from his game in Dallas, and I honestly think that was just Dallas being terrible. I mean, we saw what the Bears did to them yesterday. I think they just have a terrible defense with terrible game planning, and the deep ball just happened to be hitting that day. It was so bad. I mean, the offense was painful, just painful to watch. Malik Neighbors didn't have a catch until the fourth quarter. I believe he had 1 target through 3 quarters, and it was a pass that Russell Wilson's arm got hit as he was throwing, so it wasn't even like a legit target. It was so bad. I mean, we're going to get into it in a little bit, but there has to be a real conversation about making a change at the quarterback position for week 4. We will be getting into that in a bit. But yesterday, I mean, it was just so bad. The first interception might have been the worst play of the night. I mean, there were so many bad plays. I think that was probably the worst play. Wan'Dale Robinson, they tried throwing to him on a deep ball, and a triple coverage gets picked off. I mean, there was never even a possibility that he was going to catch that. I thought Bo Collins was open too over the middle of the field, but obviously Russell Wilson just isn't going to see that because he is literally deep ball or check down. There's no in between with Russell Wilson right now. Do I put all the blame of the offense on him? No. Do I put a lot of it on him? Yes. He was just flat out bad yesterday. As I said earlier, Wan'Dale and Neighbors were really quiet. Wan'Dale had 1 catch for 26 yards. Neighbors had 2 catches for 13 yards. You're not going to win any games when that's the case. I mean, I'd have to look closer at the coverage. But Giants wide receivers as a whole had 4 catches. Slayton had 2. Or no, I think they had 5. Sorry, Slayton had 2. Neighbors had 2. And Wan'Dale had 1. So, just terrible. One bright spot was Cam Scatterbo. Unfortunately, Tyrone Tracy dislocated his left shoulder. He actually got off to a really good start. Him and Scatterbo was kind of a 1-2 punch. And then Tracy got hurt, so they went to Scatterbo, and he had a really good game. He went 10 for 16, a touchdown, and then 6 for 61 receiving. So expect to see a lot of Cam Scatterbo as Tyrone Tracy is out. I'll imagine they'll just elevate Turbo Miller from the practice squad, and that'll be their 3rd running back. But sucks for Tyrone Tracy because he actually looked like he was getting something going. You know, he was really struggled the first 2 games, and unfortunately he just took a nasty hit on the sideline and dislocated his shoulder. Andrew Thomas was back. He looked really good. Only played 25 snaps, though. I'd like to know why that is because I don't believe Andrew Thomas isn't in shape, like the conditioning aspect. And, I mean, I guess probably just trying to limit him. You know, hasn't played football in 11 months. But the whole thing was just weird to me how they said they wanted to see him, how he responded to a pregame workout. I feel like when you're out for that long, don't you want some more conviction on whether or not you're going to play, as it not being a game time decision? I feel like it should be something where, you know, you're either going to play or you're not. But thankfully he came out with no injuries, pitched a shutout. So shout out Andrew Thomas. I mean, it was just bad. It was just so bad. I mean, it was just so hard to watch. And Chiefs defense isn't like anything special. I mean, Spagnuolo's a great coordinator, but they don't have, I mean, they have Chris Jones, but he didn't really do like a ton. Like, I mean, they have Chris Jones. I mean, they have a solid like secondary. I mean, George Karlaftis is pretty good, but like, it's nothing like insane. And they just looked lost. I mean, I don't understand what they even practice like during the week. I mean, the game plan again was not good. I feel like Mike Kafka was again calling plays, not really to Russell Wilson's strengths, but that's no excuse for Russell Wilson. He was just completely terrible. Just so bad. I didn't even talk about the red zone where he threw 3 balls out of the back of the end zone, including one on 4th and goal. Just threw it out of the end zone. One was an intentional grounding as well. I believe it's the first one he threw out. Just the red zone is so bad. He's so bad in the red zone. The play calling isn't great, but I mean, it's like he hasn't thrown a touchdown yet in the red zone, which just terrible. I keep saying it, but it was just a completely god-awful game offensively. If we shift now to the defense, the edge rushers looked good, but they just could not wrap up Mahomes. I mean, the one play where I believe Darius Alexander got him first, he couldn't bring him down, and then Abdul Carter couldn't bring him down, and then he throws like a 60-yard bomb down the field and gets a pass interference. It was Hollywood Brown, Drew PI on Drew Phillips. Just plays like that. I mean, they had a lot of opportunities to bring guys down. Tyler Newman keeps missing tackles, which is not good. They even benched Drew Phillips at one point, and Drew Phillips was one of the guys that the Joe Shane and Brian Dable were saying, oh, look at our draft class. This should save our job. Well, you just benched him because he's like Swiss cheese in coverage. I mean, he can make a play on a ball every now and again, but he just consistently gets absolutely cooked in coverage. I mean, they kept Travis Kelce in check, but him and Mahomes have not really been on the same page. And this was similar to the Washington game in the sense that, like, the Chiefs didn't like look great. I mean, Mahomes only threw for a little over 200 yards. Let's get the exact number here. Threw for 224. I mean, that's not like for Mahomes. That's not a lot. I mean, you'll take that. It's really just came down to the offense. I mean, the defense did enough. They did enough to me. It was 9-6 at the half. I mean, they held them in check. It's just you're not going to win any games when you score 9 points. Anything else? I'm trying to think here with the defense. Linebackers. I mean, Okereke, that one. I mean, Mahomes throws a backwards pass to Pacheco. Ball's on the ground. Dane Belton can't scoop it up. Bobby Okereke scoops it up and wants to score instead of just diving on the football. And Patrick Mahomes rips it out of his hands and gets the ball back. That cannot happen. That absolutely cannot happen. That is another example of this coaching staff not preaching fundamentals and preaching the little things and the details in practice. And that is where it shows up in the games and plays just like that. Brian Dable has been a guy that, according to the media and stuff that are there and former players and whatnot, has been a guy that just kind of lets things slide. Well, you're really seeing that this year between the penalties last week, the drops, the play yesterday with Okereke. I mean, you're really seeing that kind of stuff show up. And now let's get to the special teams. Because if you guys listen to past episodes, every episode for the past 3 episodes when I do previews of the games, I say special teams. Don't let it lose you the game. Don't let it impact the game. Because I remember saying before the Washington game that it feels like one game a year gets lost on special teams. Now, did special teams lose the Giants this game? No. Did it change the trajectory of the game? Yes, it absolutely did. So Graham Gano gets hurt during defensive introductions. And now the Giants don't have a kicker, at least for the first half, which was really weird. So first drive, Giants get field goal range, but they have to go for it because they don't have a kicker, and they don't get it. So that's 3 points they left on the board. Then on their touchdown drive with Scadaboo, they attempt an extra point for some reason with Jamie Gillen, who takes 15 years to run up to the ball and kick it. He kicks a line drive, it hits someone in the helmet, and the Giants are lucky it didn't get returned. So that's 4 points right there that they left on the board. It should have been, at that point, it should have been 10-6 Giants, and it could have been 10-9 at the half. Instead, it was 9-6 Chiefs at the half. The fact that the Giants kicked the extra point there with Jamie Gillen is just coaching malpractice. That is completely terrible. They literally said on the broadcast that Gunnar Olszewski, or maybe I saw on X, that Gunnar Olszewski had only practiced holding for Graham Gano. So he had to flip who was holding because Gillen's a lefty. Can't imagine Gillen's practicing many kicks. Just go for two. Just go for two. No one's going to blame you if you go for two and you don't get it because your kicker's hurt. No one's going to blame you for that. And then Graham Gano's fined for a 25-yarder in the second half and just kicks it high into the net. Like, are you kidding me? I posted on X that I think we saw Graham Gano's. Jeez, I just combined Jamie Gillen and Graham Gano. Sorry. Had to be up late last night with the game. I'm a little bit tired. But Graham Gano, I think we saw Graham Gano's final kick of his career. Was that a little bit impulsive? Yes. But honestly, I think that's true. I think they either IR him or they just flat out cut him this week and they signed somebody else because this was an absolute, again, a malpractice. I don't blame Dable necessarily for this. I blame Joe Shane. Everyone with a brain could have seen this coming. You have a 38-year-old kicker who has been bad and injured the last 2 seasons. You can save $3 million by cutting him in the offseason, and there were plenty of options between the draft and free agency to bring in a kicker. Or at the very worst, bring in somebody for competition. June McAtamey, I don't really, that's a, international exception or whatever it's called. I don't really consider that competition. Or maybe make it more of a competition between McAtamey and Gano because they just baby Gano all summer. He barely kicks. At the training camp that I went to, I was there. June McAtamey took all of the field goals during the joint practice session with the Jets. In the preseason, a majority of the kicks went to McAtamey. They just baby Gano during the entire time. And then, I'm shocked he gets hurt. And now we're screwed again. For the second year in a row, we have to go through a game without a kicker. That is just completely awful. Completely awful. Like, does this happen to any other team? Like, I have not seen a team have to go through a game without a kicker in the last 2 years like the Giants have. Like, I just don't understand how this stuff happens. It would be one thing if Graham Gano was good and he just happened to be injured. Or it'd be another thing if he, or what was I going to say? Like, if they couldn't save any money on him. Like, if they would have lost $2 million if they cut him, okay, sure, keep him, whatever. You save $3 million. This is a team that has to restructure Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas and Brian Burns every year just to get under the salary cap threshold. And you're going to keep a kicker who has a $5.5 million cap hit and you could cut and save $3 million. Why? 38-year-old, by the way. Like, it's just, that was, everyone could have seen that coming at some point this year. Just a disaster from this coaching staff and front office. But let's get to the good. Let's get to the New York Yankees. So they go 5-2 this week, which is exactly what I said they needed to go, or better. They closed the gap in the standings, which we will get to in a bit. Game 1 looked rough, though. Simeon Woods-Richardson looked like Cy Young and just pitched the game of his life and shut out the Yankees. But after that, they went 5-1 the rest of the way. They almost choked a 10-1 game. That was a little too close for comfort. I didn't like that. But they won at 10-9. Stanton hit his 450th home run. I thought it was super cool. We got to meet the young kid who caught it, and he had a Stanton shirt on. Judge hit his 49th homer. Anyone that thinks Cal Raleigh is the MVP at this point is just wrong. And if he wins it, it's simply voter fatigue. Judge has about 200 OPS points above Cal Raleigh. All he really has is the home run numbers and then he catches. Max Fried dominated at 13 strikeouts in 7 innings. He's really looking like that ace, and I'm glad like him and Rodon I feel like they're pitching their best ball of the year right now, even like Schlittler going into the playoffs. That's what I really like. The Yankees, they're not limping into the playoffs like they have in some past years. They're playing good baseball. They have the best record. I saw this yesterday. They are 27-14 since August 6th, and that is the best record in baseball. They are playing really good baseball right now. They had that collapse like May, June, even a little bit into July, but they're getting back on track now. The second best record in the American League. Unfortunately, the team with the best record is in their division, but they're playing really good baseball right now heading into the postseason. So I really like that. And they have a pretty easy schedule this week as well, which I'll get into later, that could potentially give them a shot at the AL East. I'm not holding my breath about it, but there's certainly a possibility of that happening. Volpe, he looked a bit better this week. Looks like he changed some mechanics after being out for those 5 games. Joe Girardi just kept raving about it on the broadcast. So we'll see if maybe Volpe can turn into something. Even if I honestly wouldn't mind seeing Volpe just kind of slapping the ball around a little bit more. He has 19 homers, but I feel like he doesn't hit much to right field. He's hitting like 206 or something like that. So I'd like to see him hit for a little bit more average. And that would be good for the postseason if they can get some production out of Volpe. And then Ben Rice. Ben Rice completely carried the team yesterday, went 4 for 5, had the go-ahead grand slam in the 10th inning where the Yankees really broke the game open. Jazz also had a homer in that inning. Volpe had a RBI as well. So all in all, good week for the Yankees. Schlittler pitched well yesterday. Bednar keeps doing Bednar things. So just a very good week. Again, I said this last week, I'm going to say it again. They're taking care of business. They're doing their job, playing good baseball. Unfortunately, the Blue Jays just keep winning, so they can't get that AL East. But yeah, they're just doing everything right now, and just got to stay hot through this week. It's also crazy to me that the playoff baseball is so soon. I don't know if I'm ready for this, especially with the Yankees. They have a strong possibility of being in the wild card series. So 3-game series, man, that is real stressful. So yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I missed here with the Yankees. Just, solid week overall. Say I love Ahmed Rosario, just huge hype guy. And he can hit lefties. Is he going to start versus lefties in the playoffs? I mean, I think there's certainly a possibility of that. So, we'll see. But yeah, I think I pretty much hit on everything there for the Yankees. Solid week. Just gotta build on it. Stay hot into the postseason, and maybe you'll get lucky and win the division. All right, now we are going to transition into the studs and duds section. For the Giants, I think there is only really one option for the stud. That's going to go to Cam Scatterbo. As I said earlier, he went 10 for 60 on the ground with a touchdown, 6 for 61. If Brian Dable, Joe Shane want to save their job at all, they're going to have to play these young guys, and they're going to have to make an impact. And Cam Scatterbo did do that yesterday. He was kind of that spark at certain times. The fans really get hype when he gets the ball. One thing that worries me is it feels like I like watching it, but it worries me for him and his bank account is every time he catches the ball, he just lowers his head like this, just lowers his head, and I feel like he's going to get fined for that, and he's going to get a concussion at some point. If you're running like that, it's bound to happen. I worry about his career longevity, but right now it's working. So, Cam Scatterbo, you are the stud and the duds. This could go to a lot of different people, honestly. I narrowed it down to 3. Russell Wilson, Brian Dable, and Joe Shane. Russell Wilson gets it because he was just completely awful, as I said earlier. Absolutely terrible. Just as I said, can't read the middle of the field. Everything's a deep ball or a check down. Terrible at the red zone. Just not good whatsoever. Just really, really, really bad. And last week I said, after the Cowboys game, I was like, all right, Russ has bought himself a few weeks. Like, he played really well. He'd have to play like completely awful in one of the next 2 games to really, get the dart talk going again. Well, the dart talk is hotter than it's ever been. Granted, it's only been 3 weeks, but that's just how bad he played. I mean, we have a guy that threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns a week or 8 days ago, and he's now on the verge of being benched. So take that how you will. Brian Daboll gets it because he is just absolutely horrific on primetime, and the red zone struggles and just offensive struggles in general, attention to detail, all of that. I believe, at least a majority of it falls on Brian Daboll as the head coach of this team. I just don't understand. Like, I get so hyped for these primetime games. Like, I love how NBC does their presentation. I love Monday Night Football and how ESPN does it. I love the commentators. I know Collinsworth can be annoying sometimes. It did really annoy me how he was glazing Mahomes for recovering his own fumble. I mean, that was a great play, but he caused that. But I just love it. I love the introductions. Like, I love all that stuff. Like, it's just so hype. Night game, MetLife, and then they just get embarrassed, every time. Just unbelievable how bad he is on primetime. The offense was averaging less than 16 points a game going into yesterday. They scored 9, so that's only going to go down. I just think it's going to be real difficult for him and the next guy, Joe Shane, to have a job with the Giants next year. And I give it to Shane for the incompetence with the kicker. I give it to Shane just overall for how he's built this team. I don't like it. I feel like they should have been fired last year. They weren't. Brought him back this year, and it's just more of the same. Do they even make it through the year? That's a great question. I think a lot of it's going to, we'll see how Dart looks, but Jackson Dart should not save these guys' jobs. Bobby Skinner said it perfectly. If Jackson Dart plays great, you say, Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, thank you for finding our quarterback. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's essentially what he said. And I think that's perfect. You cannot let Jackson Dart cannot make up for the other 52 guys on the team that, well, they're not all terrible, but you know what I mean? He can't make up for the rest of the team being bad. I mean, at the end of the day, this is year 4 of a regime. Year 4. And this is the product that they are putting out there. If John Mayer really believes that these guys are the guys, I mean, what's the Giants Super Bowl window? I know it's crazy to say. What is the let's say Jackson Dart is an absolute stud. He is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. What is the earliest they win the Super Bowl? I don't even think it's next year. I think it's got to be 2027. So you're saying year 6 is the earliest, and this is the product in year 4. I don't know. Just no way. You can't bring these guys back. Can't bring them back unless something just insane happens. They go on this huge win streak. I don't see that happening. I mean, you have guys quitting. If you look at the touchdown run, it was Kareem Hunt, I believe, and you can see Paulson Adebo is just quitting. Drew Phillips doesn't even give any sort of effort on that play. Just those 2 guys, I believe, are who that falls on, and they are the duds. For the Yankees, their stud is going to Max Fried. He pitched one of the best games of his career. 7 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts, only 3 hits, and 1 walk. As I said earlier, I feel like he's pitching some of his best baseball of the year right now, heading into the postseason. And it's kind of crazy to say that this is the best I felt about a Yankees 1-2 punch going into the postseason in a while. And that's with no Garrett Cole. I mean, imagine this rotation with Garrett Cole. That is dirty, especially for a wild card series where it's a best of 3. If you had Cole, Fried, and Rodon, I mean, that is dirty right there. So Max Fried, you are my stud. My dud's going to go to Luke Weaver. I love Luke Weaver, love the personality, but he has really struggled this past month and especially this past week. Went 2 2/3, 5 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. And on August 30th, his ERA was 2.6. His ERA is now 3.82. So jumped a 1.22 in less than a month, about 3 weeks, actually. That's sucks. And I know relievers' ERAs can fluctuate a lot, but it's just consistently climbing. And the bullpen is the biggest weakness for the Yankees right now, in my opinion. I think Bednar is the only guy you can really rely on. I mean, Devin Williams, you certainly can't rely on. Doval can't rely on. Weaver, I don't think you can really rely on anymore. So Tim Hill hasn't been reliable recently. So it would be nice if one of those guys could step up. I think Luke Weaver definitely could. And he's probably kicking himself right now because he's in a contract year. But unfortunately for him, he's going to have to be the dud this week. Now time for the fan mailbag. We have 2 questions this week. I'm not going to lie, I keep forgetting to post this, but I find questions online, or sometimes people will just message me if they know, mailbags this week or whatever. One of the questions I talked about a bit last week, but I think it'll be good to revisit it. And the other one is certainly a hot topic right now with these 2 teams. So I'm going to take a sip of water, and I'll get to those. All right. So first is the time now for Jackson Dart? I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. Do I think he's going to start this week? I do. I think week 4 will be the first start for Jackson Dart in his NFL career. I think it's going to happen. But I'm skeptical. I am skeptical. What would I do? I wouldn't start him. I would not start Jackson Dart this week. I mean, with how it's laid out right now, I would just start Russell Wilson again, unfortunately. But in an ideal world, you know who I would start? I would start Jameis Winston, and let me tell you why. So Jameis was the first guy the Giants signed in the offseason. And I was like, okay, he could be a bridge guy for the quarterback that they're probably going to draft, because we all knew they were probably going to draft a quarterback. And then they signed Russell Wilson, and I'm like, now I don't really want them to draft a quarterback. I mean, I didn't really want them to draft a quarterback in the first place. I didn't love this class as a whole, besides Cam Ward. And then they signed Russell Wilson. I'm like, all right, let's really not do it. Let's not trade up. And then they trade up for Dart, and I'm like, okay. So we're going to have Russ is obviously going to be the starter. And then what do you do at 2 and 3? I was in the camp that I wanted it to be Russ, Jameis, and Dart for a couple of reasons. First reason is if Russ gets hurt, I don't think throwing Dart in mid-game is, with no game plan for him, is the best way to get your rookie, his debut. And the other reason is for this exact reason that's happening right now. Because, okay, Russ has played 2 really bad weeks and 1 good week. So let's say the Giants do want to bench Russell Wilson, in this scenario, which I think they do. You could go to Jameis Winston for at least another 2 to 3 weeks and, have kind of a buffer there to give Dart another 2 to 3 weeks to develop. Now you can't do that because they named Dart the backup. You're not going to have Jameis jump Dart in the depth chart and have him start. So going back to the question a little bit, the matchup's terrible as well. The matchup's really bad. Jesse Minter and the Chargers defense is really good. This is a 3-0 team. The only positive is at home, so that could help. But I do think they're going to start Dart this week. I really do. If that decision comes out, I may have to do like an emergency video or something. But I do think they're going to start Dart, and because they need a spark. I think Dable and Shane know they got to save their jobs. This team needs a spark if they want any shot at anything. So I do think they're going to go to Jackson Dart, which, I mean, it's going to happen eventually. I saw an argument being made of what is Jackson Dart, what is he doing, watching bad Russell Wilson play for these 3 weeks. I think he's doing a lot behind the scenes. You could see him on the broadcast, reading plays off his wristband, and it looked like he was almost like saying them, like he's practicing, like saying them in a huddle. I think, listen to play calls, that kind of thing. I think that all helps. And just getting the couple snaps a game, I don't think it hurts anything either. So do I think they're going to start Dart? Yes. Would I? Probably not. But this is the first week where I'm like, if they do it, I'm like, I don't hate it. I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. I know the reasoning for it. Let's do this. Where in past weeks, I'm like, no. Like, we got to, stick with Russ for this week. What do the Giants do with Russ? I mean, is he the backup? Is he the third string? I wonder if they could just cut him, honestly, because I remember thinking over the summer that there's no way he starts the whole week. So what if they just cut him and he just signs somewhere else, kind of like what they did with Daniel Jones last year? I don't know what that would do with dead cap. I don't know if Russ would be willing to. I mean, it's 11 mil. I don't know. I don't know what really happens. It's fully guaranteed. I don't know. I really don't know. That's above my pay grade there. Does he get traded? I mean, I don't really know who would trade. I mean, maybe a seventh or something. I don't really know. Maybe the Bengals or something. I have no clue. But yeah. So next question is, what does the Yankees playoff rotation look like for the wild card series? So last week I kind of talked about just playoffs in general. If you're saying just wild card series, I would go Fried, Rodon, Schlittler. That would be my 3. I think you have Heel in the bullpen. I don't think you put Warren on the roster for a wild card series. I could maybe get behind it for divisional the ALCS and did I say? I feel like I said something wrong. Let me playoff format. I want to make sure it's like 5 games and whatnot. But so I would not have Warren on the roster for the wild card. Rest of the playoffs, I would. It's the division series. I was thinking football. Division series, divisional, whatever. You know what I meant. ALDS, ALCS World Series. I mean, I could get behind having Warren on the roster. I also could see the argument for not having him on the team. Wildcard series, I think there's no need for it. You could just go Heel as the long man. Maybe don't have Blackburn on the roster either. And maybe add another bench guy. Is there like a speedster in AAA? I mean, you have Caballero, but it doesn't hurt to have another one. Maybe Escara in case of like something. I don't know. But yeah, so I would go Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, Heel in the bullpen, Yarbrough in the bullpen. And yeah. So let's go to this week in history. So on September 17th, 1964, Mickey Mantle hit his 450th career home run and his 2000th career hit against the Angels in a game where the Yankees won 6-2. So in a time where Aaron Judge is starting to pass, he passed Yogi Berra, passed DiMaggio. Maybe he can get to Mickey Mantle at some point, but this was Mickey Mantle's 450th career home run milestone on September 17th, 1964. For the Giants, on September 20th, 2009, the Giants defeated the Dallas Cowboys 33-31, and the game is really memorable because it was the first game played at the new Cowboys Stadium, which is now AT&T Stadium, and the Giants won that game on a last-second field goal by Lawrence Tynes. And Eli Manning famously signed the locker room. Sorry, I've kind of a cold. I blame it on the Giants making me sick. But yeah, Eli famously signed it. And yeah, I would love to see something like that happen right now. Just couldn't even get it done last week in Jerry's world. So 2 pretty interesting facts this week. I thought they were better than ones I've found weeks past. And finally, let's look forward. So the Yankees' upcoming schedule, they have 3 games versus the Chicago White Sox and 3 games versus the Baltimore Orioles. I want, got to go 4-2. Obviously, do I want them to win the division? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Mostly because it says 2 games. It's really 3 games because the Blue Jays have the tiebreaker over the Yankees. If you look at the Blue Jays schedule, it is a bit tougher. They have to play Boston for 3 and then Tampa Bay for 3. So if the Yankees were to go 5-1, the Blue Jays would have to go 2-4. Right? Did I do that right? Yeah, for the Yankees to win the division. So I want them to go at least 4-2, so they have some momentum, winning record going into the postseason. I really want that. It would be great if they could go 5-1 or 6-0, but I know that's probably not the reality. I mean, 5-1 is certainly possible, but yeah. So if we look at the standings update, they are currently 88 and 68. They are 2 games back in the AL East with 6 to play. This is one of the only times that you will see me rooting for the Boston Red Sox. We need Red Sox wins and we need Yankees wins, which is super odd to say, but that is the state of the Yankees right now. They're up 3 games on Boston in the wild card, and they're up 4 games on the Astros and the Guardians, who have absolutely surged recently. And I believe they actually have the tiebreaker over Houston. So, we'll see. There should be a very interesting week. It's crazy to me that all the AL divisions are within 2 games right now, which is absolutely nuts. We are in for a great week of baseball and a great postseason as the AL is just wide open. I mean, you've got the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Red Sox. The Tigers are really falling right now. And then you got the Guardians who are getting hot. So, excuse me, sorry. So really, really interesting stuff happening across the major leagues right now. And for the Giants, I mean, I don't even really know what to say for the preview. They will be taking on the Los Angeles Chargers next Sunday at 1 p.m. in MetLife Stadium. The big question is Jackson Dart. I've already kind of talked about it. The big question is whether or not Jackson Dart is going to start. Another thing, I didn't really talk about this, another factor that could go into it is obviously the fan base wants Dart, or majority of the fan base. The fan in me wants Jackson Dart. The fan really does. It's my brain that's telling me I don't think it's the right choice. I think it's a really tough matchup. The Giants didn't want to go to him this early. We knew that going into the season, but their hand is kind of being forced right now. So we'll just have to see. I think he's going to start just based off Dable's answers and whatnot. But we'll see. And I just worry about Jesse Minter, Chargers defensive coordinator, former Michigan defensive coordinator, came with the Chargers with Harbaugh. I'm just kind of checked out at this point on the season. I mean, I'm going to be watching for Dart and other young guys and that kind of thing. But they're 0-3. They're a bad football team. They're not going to do anything, this year. Since 2000, only the 2018 Texans have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. And historically, less than 3% of teams that start 0-3 make the playoffs. So they're not making the playoffs. Sorry to break it to you. Not going to happen. Probably going to be 0-4. And maybe they'll get their first win against the Saints in week 5. But yeah, one fact I should have said this earlier because I think it's really interesting. The Giants season technically ended in summer, or during the summer, because September 22nd, which is today's date, is technically the first day of fall, and their season's over. So the Giants season literally ended in the summer. It's done. It's cooked. They're completely cooked. Anything else? I mean, Justin Herbert's probably going to have a field day. Another thing to watch for, I guess, is special teams, see what kickers the Giants bring in this week. I do, this does kind of interest me. So let's see what free agent kickers are available right now. I know Younghoe Koo just got cut, so he's an option. This is showing me guys that are on teams. This is not what I want. Here we go. It says Brandon McManus, Nick Folk. Or no, this says he re-signed. God, this is not showing me. Michael Badgley. Austin Seibert. So there's options. Eddie Pinheiro. So they're going to bring in some guys, I'm sure. See what they end up doing. I mean, I like Younghoe Koo. He's kind of fun. But yeah, so Giants 5.5-point underdogs. I think that's pretty much everything. Sorry that I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm just being Debbie Downer right now about the Giants, but there's just not a lot of hope. I mean, just watching that game yesterday was just, it was completely demoralizing. Because, you wait as King Underwood says, waiting all day for Sunday night, and then they put out a performance like that. And the other thing that's frustrating is, like, the scoreboard was close for, like, over 3 quarters. Like, this game was winnable. There's so many opportunities, but they're just so bad. Can't get out of their own way. And, yeah, so that's going to conclude this episode. I do apologize if it's out a little bit after 6. It's currently 4 o'clock right now. I had to stay after at school, and then I had, to do notes because I couldn't really do them last night with the Giants playing at 8:20. So appreciate you guys sticking around. I know the Giants are bad. I'm going to try to give my best analysis throughout the season. We got Yankees playoff baseball coming up soon, so we still have a lot to talk about. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Monday.